Okay. So closing your eyes, we'll chant Om 3 times and do the invocation. Join me when you're ready. Sahana bhavatu, sahano bhanaktu, saviryam karavavahe, tejasvinavaditamastu, ma vitvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. So welcome everyone. Thank you for being here today. And so today we're going to be talking about the concept of cause and effect to understand the nature of reality. So really, the nature of reality is very simple, but we kind of have very many ways of explaining that. I mean, the whole scriptures can essentially be summarized in one sentence, but then it's all the expositions to kind of logically sustain that sentence and explain it in a logical sort of way. So this is what we're doing, and we're trying to kind of explain the same thing that we've explained in before, but in different terms. So so that's what we're going to do today, is to look at this idea of cause and effect to understand us. So the reality is really about us, is who we truly are. And to do that, we're going to review the previous methods, so it's all becoming clear. And you know, it takes a while to understand these things, so I'll be kind of repeating myself quite a bit, and we're going to go through these. And then I'm going to be talking about the primordial cause. And so this is not a concept that we've looked at in this way before, though we've kind of hinted at it. And then we're going to talk about the concept of creation versus manifestation, about how this whole world came about. And we're going to be talking about Brahman versus Ishvara, so I'll explain all these terms. And then, as usual, we will kind of look at why is this all relevant to me, and why should I be interested in this or not. And so that's today. So before going any further, I just wanted to clarify something. So this is looking like a bit of a grammar lesson or an English language session at school, but it isn't really. So I just wanted to make sure that we were all clear about this this concept of what a subject is and what an object is. So I can see a few smiles, so that brings us back to school time when we learned grammar. So as a basic rule, the subject is what is doing something. So it could be a person, or it could be a thing, or anything that's doing the action, basically. And then the object is having something done to it normally. So I am watching you, so I is the subject, and then you is what am I doing is watching you. So so it can be a person as well. So that's just the separation between the subject and the object, and they are not the same. So look at that way. So I think I have used this before, this quote, which kind of is from the book Tattva Bodha, which translate as bangles, ear ornaments, homes, etc., are known as mine. So they're mine. We always use the word my home, my ornaments, my earrings, and they are different from the owner. So they're different from me, right? So that's what we're trying to say. So that separation between an object and the subject. So and whenever we are referring to things like my body, my mind, my pranas, my mind, my intellect, and my ignorance, we're all talking about, we're just using the pronoun my every time. So that's different for me, right? So that's just the point that I want to make, and just make sure that everyone is clear about this distinction between the subject and the object. So I might use that again later on. So if there's any doubt, so please ask. So this is something that we've looked at a number of times now. So just to recap, so we looked at this concept of the three bodies. So the physical body, so my physical body, my subtle body, my causal body. And my physical body is what you can see. My subtle body is the energy system, if you like, it is within the body. And the causal body is what has come from before, and the very essence of why we exist. And so again, we are above all these. We're not any of these, but we are different from these. And we also looked at the same concept within the 5 sheaths that we looked at, where there was the Sanskrit word was kosha, but you don't have to remember any of the Sanskrit. I just mentioned it for those who remember them, or who are interested or more familiar with the language. And so the food sheath, the vital air sheath, which is again very similar to what we had in the physical body and the subtle body, the mind, the intellectual, and the blissful. So basically, these are all the sheaths, and the me is different from this. I'm not within this, but all this are within me, if you like. So I'm different from these sheaths. And then also here, the 3 states, we looked at the three states, so that might come a little bit more to life now. So in the waking state, our senses are all working. Our body is vulnerable, or we feel things through our body, and we're conscious of exactly what's going on. And in the dream state, this is something that's happening just in our mind. So we make up this whole thing in our mind. That's what we make, right? So the person sleeping next to you would never know what is going on in your mind, because that world exists only within your mind, and that's it. That's the dream state. And the deep sleep. Oh, so that should be the deep sleep, and the third one. So the deep sleep is where you kind of, there isn't a world that you create. You don't know, there is nothing there, but you know that something happened. So again, these are different from me, because they are things that are happening to me. They are things that are occurring, but they are not me. So I'm beyond these 3 states. I can experience them, but it's not me, basically, is what we're saying. So that's the idea. So therefore, these are 3 ways of explaining a little bit this idea of who I am. And today we're going to be looking at this concept of causation, law of causation, a little bit more in detail to understand who we are. Okay, so again, we're going to be recapping a little bit. So these 2 pictures might be familiar. So I think we all agree that every effect can be traced back to a cause. Anybody disagree with that? Anything that happens because of something else, right? Otherwise, that won't happen. So this universal law, if you like, holds at both the individual level and the level of the universe. So at our, in our individual life, or that happens, but also for the universe to have happened, to have been created or whatever, there must have been a cause, basically, is what we're trying to say. And so we looked at the individual level before in the previous talk, where we looked at this idea of accumulated karma or deeds, accumulated deeds, which we called karma. So basically all that had happened before and which we have transferred to this life. So basically as we perform actions in life, we get either green apples or sour apples. So green apples are the slightly sour ones. So what that means is, it's just a picture that I used as an analogy that I found was quite helpful, that somebody else used. So it's just saying things that are not very pleasant, but we have to experience. And then the red apples are things that are pleasurable. They are things that we enjoy. So I think we all agree that our lives is made up of both. Or yeah, do we all agree on this one? Yeah, okay. So and obviously when you see around you, there is different proportion, right? So even us, the proportion of red apples and green apples change by the day. And also we can see our friends, we can see some of them have got more green apples, some of them have got more red apples. So it's just the way it is. So, and what we explained last time was that everything is controlled by this law of cause and effect. And really, there are some misconceptions about what karma is, and I just wanted to mention these misconceptions here. So some people believe that this is all ordained by God. So God, I'm using the word God again, but you know what I mean. So it's ordained by God. So therefore, God decides what happens to you. Right, so that therefore whatever you are today and whatever is going on is just ordained by God. So that's one conception that some people have, and we've seen that that's not true. And then some people believe that it is a play of stars and planets. So it's just, 100% astrology, 100% of the way things are or whatever. And then some people also believe that this is completely random. So today I'm in this position just because it's luck, and it's chance, luck, and accident is the same thing, really. It's just this idea of randomness. It's however you explain it. But really, none of these are true, and everything has to be controlled by the scientific law of cause and effect. So therefore, the reason we're here now, what we explain, is because we are reaping the effects of our action in the previous birth. Okay, so I mean, this idea of previous birth sits well with some people and it doesn't. But then if we can't accept this previous birth thing, then how are we here and what's happening to us? So how does that get explained? So it is just something so basically I'm not asking you to believe anything. I'm just saying just question it and try and understand it and work it out for yourself. So so basically what we also saw last time was that we haven't got any control on where we were born and the circumstances of some of our birth and things around us, but we are the architects of our own lives. So we are 100% in control of what happens to us. So you are 100% in control of how you spend your Sunday night. You're 100% in control of everything that happens in your life. I'll explain this. I'm hoping that this is kind of ringing alarm bells in your mind and saying, well, surely not. But we'll kind of look at this in a little bit more detail. So this idea of karma is sometimes misunderstood, and it's kind of said, oh, everything is decided and it's fate or whatever. But that's not what it is. It is, we are now reaping the results of the actions that we've done previously, that we have done. But then whatever we are doing now are conscious decisions that we are taking, and we have got 100% choice in these. Okay, so if you've got questions, so please keep them. You can put them in the chat now, and I'll look at them all at the end. So feel free to use the chat function for this. And so now, so we've understood about the individual. It is our actions. So this will happen, and through thousands and thousands of births. And and last time I explained this idea of this reservoir of all the apples up there, and then what we have this in this lifetime is what is being fructified, if you like, that have matured, that we are ready to harvest. And then whatever we do now goes back to this reservoir of deeds that will determine what happens to us next time, and if there is a next time. So that is a little bit what we looked at last time. So now I wanted to talk a little bit more about the universe. So at the universal level, at the level of the universe rather, so every effect can be traced back to a cause. So what is it? So it is this chicken and egg question, isn't it? So which one came first, the chicken or the egg? So who says the chicken? No? Who says the egg? Okay. And who says they don't know? Okay. Yeah. Okay, excellent. So this is a debated question, and there are lots of views about it. So here Aristotle said it's an infinite circle, so we don't really know. Basically, that's what has happened. So we don't know, we can't know. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but what I've kind of found in reading is that what the Bible says is that in the creation of animals, there was, in describing how animals came into being, there is the first chicken, but then that doesn't come from an egg. So there was a first chicken that happened, and then eggs started from that chicken, basically, and the chicken started first. This may be, don't quote me on this, but this is what I found. And then is the explanation that we're all familiar with now is Darwin, the theory of evolution. So basically what it's saying is that we've evolved over millions of years to so that we are now in the body that we are, and to be human. So we've evolved from amoeba, or we were different things, and as evolution came about. So as you know, I don't know any of that stuff, so I'm not going to pretend that I do. So basically that's how it happened. And so who believes in the theory in Darwinism? Yeah. Okay. Right. I mean, well, from the philosophy that we're talking about, which is Vedanta, which is the Indian philosophy that we were studying at the moment, doesn't believe in this. So it kind of feels that can't be true, and we will explain why. I mean, so I think one of the obvious questions is that so why do we still have amoeba? Why haven't they evolved? So why have we still got things that haven't evolved over time? And also, I mean, some of you would know a lot more anatomy than I do. So if you've ever looked into the human body and understood the precision about everything in the body, every single thing in your body is there for a very, very good reason. And that precision is absolutely remarkable. And the way the organs adjust and the way things adjust, that precision, I mean, to get that, to accept evolution to give us that precision is a little bit far-fetched. But anyway, so the other thing as well is around it is around all DNA. I mean, so the whole precision about DNA and how that can come about with evolution is something that is questionable. So I mean, it's just something to think about. And as I said, I don't know anything about Darwinism, so I can't kind of, and it's not, I'm not trying to disprove it here, but I'm just trying to say that that's not what we're going to be talking about, and we don't believe in this one. And so the alternative view, if you like, is that every effect can be traced back to a cause, which for Darwin, it doesn't give us what is that one thing. So there must have been, we've evolved from something eventually, if you trace back from this, but where did the first thing come? And that brings us back to the chicken and egg question. That bit doesn't get answered. So that is a little bit the problem. So if we accept that every effect can be traced back to a cause, then we come to this idea of the effect and the cause. So it's a little bit complex to understand, so I'll do my best. So the effect has to depend on a cause, but the cause doesn't depend on anything else, right? So the cause doesn't happen because of anything else. It's just the cause, right? So, and the cause is pretty independent, but the effect only happens because there is a cause. So if there is no cause, then there is no effect. Okay, so that's all this is saying so far. So what the theory says is that this one independent cause for everything is what is called Brahman, or so this is so Brahman here is the independent cause that has got no other cause. Okay, so I will explain this a lot more in detail. So first of all, we'll look at the characteristic of Brahman. So Brahman, not to be mistaken for Brahma in the Hindu Trinity, not to be mistaken with any of the caste system or anything like that. Brahman is just the primordial cause. So that's what it means. Brahman here just means primordial cause. So that one cause is the independent cause, and it is uncaused. So basically, it's just there, and it is the cause. It is infinite, and it is formless. So it doesn't have a shape, it doesn't have a form, and it is eternal. So unlike our body, so our body is not eternal because we're born. We know that we're going to die. And well, not we, but the body is gonna leave, if you like. So that's probably a better terminology. The body is gonna decay and go back to its source, which is the earth. And also another characteristic about Brahman is that Brahman cannot be known by the intellect. So by reasoning alone, we can't understand Brahman, and that intellect is not a way that we can understand it either. We get certain understanding of it, we know about it, we get an intellectual understanding of it, but not an actual appreciation of it. And also it cannot be objectified, so that distinction between subject and object. So we can't say, oh, I'll put the Brahman in the jar, or it's not something that can be objectified, and it's just something that's there. So basically that's what Brahman is, and that's that one cause. So now what we're saying is that cause that didn't have a cause. And how is that possible? Okay, so that raises the question. I mean, how is that even possible? Have we got anything for our poor little mind to understand that? I mean, is there anything close in a world for us to understand this? And what the scriptures talk about is the famous spider and spider web. Okay, so this is the closest that we get to about this idea of Brahman. So here, I think in the past I have explained this idea of material cause and intelligent cause. Okay, so last time when I explained, well, I'll talk about this two terms first, and then I'll go back to the spider web. So a material cause, let's use an example that I used last time, which is about making this fantastic meal. So let's say Smita needs to make this meal for a very special someone. And so what she does is she goes to the shop, she buys all her special ingredients, she brings it home, and she's got her pan, she's got everything ready, all her masala, everything completely ready. So these are all the material cores that she needs to make the meal, right? But then if she puts it all there, ready to go, and then Smita says, oh, well, actually, I'm just going to go to the park and go for a nice long walk in the snow and enjoy all that. The food will not get cooked. So we need Smita to put it all together, to engineer it all and put it all together so that it becomes a meal. So here, Smita is the intelligent cause, and everything else are material cause. Okay, so now if we talk about this, if you like, Brahman is the intelligent cause as a result of what everything happens. And then the material cause is the world, is the universe that we're all in now, and the ones that we are not aware of and everything else. So the universe is if you like, the material cause. Okay, well, not cause, but is the material bit that is manifested, sorry. But the material cause here is for that one uncause, for Brahman, the material cause comes from within. Okay, so it, and the only thing that we can understand it with is this analogy with the spider and spider web. Okay, so I don't know how much you know about spider, is so the web comes from the spider. So the spider doesn't go to the supermarket and get something, or it doesn't go out in nature and get something to do its web. It just gets its web from itself, right? So that's what goes out, and it makes its web from it. And then what happens at the end? So basically there is the spider eats it, and it can also go inside. If you've not gone to kind of clean your house and got the cobweb, the spider web yourself, then the spider can take it in as well. So this is this idea. This is the closest that we come to about being able to explain this Brahman, about how it is possible to cause, to be the one cause that everything comes from within almost. So, and what one of the scriptures. So we're not going to be talking about the various scriptures in this talk, but we will be talking of them at some point. But just to mention that one of the scriptures, which is one of the Upanishads, so don't worry about what it is for now, it says, as the spider emits and withdraws the web comes out from its own body and can be taken back to its own body. As herbs sprout on earth, as hair grows on the head and on the body of men effortlessly. So likewise, from the imperishable, so this is Brahman, which another characteristic is imperishable, the universe comes out. So basically everything comes from Brahman, from this one cause. So this is the explanation about how that first cause. So we're using all these terms, which is the primordial cause and the imperishable, the Brahman. This is all the same. Okay. So so here in this case, when we're looking at Brahman, the material cause and the intelligent cause is one. They're not separate, as in the example that we said. So therefore, that is the only way that it can be the cause that doesn't depend on anything else. Okay, so I'm not saying Brahman is a spider, but I'm just using this analogy to say this is how this is possible, because something is coming out of from something, and then it goes back in. Okay, so this is what we are saying for now. Okay, so now if we talk about the universe, so how did the universe came about? So we also talk about this idea of manifestation rather than creation. So, I mean, if we use the word creation, it means it is separate. So if we say Brahman created the universe, then the Brahman is the subject, the universe is the object. right? So this is not what we're saying. We're saying it's the same. So therefore, there is no separation. So therefore, what we say is the universe is a manifestation of Brahman, right? So that is that if you like is a very different kind of concept. So that's so therefore, we have I have sort of talked about this thing which you would have heard about, is we are this divine. So Brahman is divine. So we are this divine because we are part of Brahman. We came from Brahman. We are manifestation of Brahman. So we are what can be seen from Brahman. Okay, so so I'm not using some of the other technical forms at the moment, words at the moment, but just to understand this. So everything that we see, that we know of, that we've ever seen or that we can understand is the effect of that one primordial cause, which is Brahman. Okay, so so now there is the cause, which is Brahman, and everything else is just a manifestation and is something that's just names and forms. So, and some of you might have heard this term, which is nama and rupa. So nam is name and form is rupa in Sanskrit. So don't worry if you don't know any, but I just keep mentioning them for those who understand that. And also, I just want to mention that when we've been doing the chant a few weeks ago about the Nirvana Shatakam, we said Chidananda Rupa Shivoham. So the Rup, so I am the form, well, it's the form of Brahman, of the form of Brahman is what we are. Okay, so and so I think I just want to talk a little bit more about this idea of if we take out the cause, then there is no effect. Okay, so one of the examples that is very often used in the philosophy is about a clay pot. Okay, so oops, there we are. So this is a clay pot. Yeah, so so everybody is familiar with this, and some of us call it a diya that we use at Diwali time, and some other time too. So this is made of clay, right? Yeah, and we call it a lamp. So if I take, so it's here because there was somebody, there was an intelligent cause, there was somebody, a skilled potter who made this, and then there is also the material, which is clay. Okay, so now if I take away the clay from this, what will remain? Let's assume for debate purposes that I can somehow take away all the clay, then what will remain? Nothing. True or not true? Yeah. So basically, this is the idea: is when we take.
Nothing.
So go on. Okay. Yeah. So basically, if we take any, if we take the cause out of the effect, then there is no effect. So basically, well, I will talk about this in more in subsequent lectures as well. But for now, this is just what I want you to understand. And also in the philosophy, there are all sorts of analogies. So they are called nyaya, which are used to explain this. So basically, what we're saying is that if you take the divinity out of the universe, if you take that divinity out, there is nothing that's left. Okay, so that's all what we're saying. So which is kind of saying we are divine, we are the divine, we're the manifestation of the divine. If we take the divinity from us, nothing remains, basically, is what we're saying. And also, just to understand, in the same way that I've used the clay and the pot analogy, I'll use another one, which is the ocean and the wave. Okay, so basically, there is this wave that's a little bit sad and saying, oh, I'm just a wave and I would really like to be the ocean, but I'm not the ocean, I'm just a wave. Okay, so Does that make sense? What is the wave? The wave is just caused by a ripple, but then it is essentially the ocean, right? So it is nothing but the ocean itself. But what we see is actually a wave. It's not saying that, we're not saying that the wave is not real, because it is. We can see it, and we know how dangerous a wave can be, and we can experience it. So we're not saying it is not true, but we're just saying that that wave is no other than the ocean. Similarly, another example that's used is the snake and the rope. So let's say in the evening you're just walking around. So this is in India, imagine, and so you can see something that looks like the snake, and you get very scared. All the hairs go up, and you just don't know what to do. But then, you know, you kind of have all these emotions and everything else. But then when you go closer, actually, when you can see it in the light, it's not a snake, it's just a rope, right? So it's just to kind of say that, you know, we can see a lot of things. Some things can appear the way they are. But if we take the snake out of that rope, what we see is just the rope. Okay, so what is there is just the rope. So if we take, well, we created that effect of a snake there, but there was never any snake. Okay, so I mean, I'll explain that again in other terms, but I just thought I'll mention it today. But we'll go in more detail about this. So essentially, the point that I'm trying to make is that everything else in the universe is the name and the forms of that primordial cause. And if we take away that cause from any of the effects, then there is nothing that's left. Okay, so now, so again, this is something that we're going to be talking over and over again. And as you can see, the way these lectures are is that sometimes, you know, I can't tell you everything at one go, and then we build up and then we revisit. So it's just the way it's got to be, unfortunately. So now we're going to talk about, okay, so I'm hoping that the question is that's arising in your mind now is, so what about Ishvara? So we talked about Ishvara before, about God. So what is, you know, what about God in all this? So we've got Brahman, and then we've got, and then, but is Brahman the primordial cause? But what about God? Who's God? And, you know, so I'm hoping this question is cropping up. Yeah? Yeah, okay. So essentially, this idea of God or Ishvara, as we've talked about it before. So, so what we've said is the God. We normally use the word Ishvara, which is God, but I kind of, because God is just got a lot of value judgment. So I normally use the word either Bhagavan or Ishvara to refer to this idea of the right conception of the right. Of the right meaning, really. So what it is so we've established Brahman as the primordial cause. So devotional people, or people like us, find it difficult to conceptualize the manifestation of nature and understand this formless idea. I mean, we can only understand something if we know something about it. But so here it's very difficult for us to understand or to even begin to see, well, what does that cause look like? I know it's not a spider. I mean, you know, it's a bit. So how do we conceptualize it? So therefore, what the scriptures have done is they've personified this primordial cause, these powers as gods, as various gods. And within, as you most of you would know, is that in the Hindu religion there is many gods, and the reason for that is because for it to appeal to various people also, and then we can understand, we can identify with a particular deity, or we can understand a little bit more as soon as we start personifying Brahman, and so we start to understand it a little bit better. It starts becoming something slightly more familiar to us. But then if you well, for those of you who have read any of the mantras or understand what all these prayers are, all of them are talking about this primordial cause. So that's the logic. So even though there are many gods, but there is always the acknowledgement of that one primordial. So all of them are manifestation of this primordial Brahman. Right, so that this is why sometimes people say, oh well, why are there so many gods? There's just one God. Of course there is Brahman, but then there are personification, if you like, that happens at the next level. And similarly, there is so what we say is the highest manifestation of Brahman is what we term as God. So it's the same is whether it's Jesus, whether it's Saraswati, Kali, or any God that we pray, and this is how this all comes together. So I think I've mentioned this before. What is really special about this philosophy is that it's got a framework to account for the plurality that we all experience in our day-to-day life, where we've got Allah, we've got all sorts of gods, but then how is that possible? And so this is the theory about how that kind of comes about. So this is Ishvara. So basically, Ishvara, or God, is the manifestation that we can understand, that our brain can fathom and relate to, of that divinity that exists. So we will discuss about it a bit more, and you can ask questions as well as we get there. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about this. Okay, so just to kind of put it all together of where we are at the moment, is what we're saying is, okay, I've put here an ignoramus scale. Okay, so scale of being ignorant. I was just in a silly kind of mood, all right? So this is, okay, there are two extreme views, if you like. So one view says that God does everything, nothing happens because of me, and everything is because of God. Okay, so there's that one view. So God alone is everything. Okay, so this might be, it might be true or might not be true, but if you're using the correct definition of God, then this might be true. But because you are God, okay, so then that means, and then there is this idea of saying, so other people who say, on the other end of the spectrum, if you like, people say, human effort is everything, so there is no God, and everything is to do with human, it's all about me, and there is no God. So people sometimes use the word atheist for that, so everything depends on me, there is no God, there is nothing else there. Okay, so does that make sense, these two extremes? So what we're saying here is that our standpoint is that Brahman, or God, is the substratum, is the prime mover of all activities. So the manifestation, the universe, everything, the prana inside of everything is the substratum, if you like, is the primordial cause and the mover of all activities. Without whom, without what, there would be no world, basically. So everything, there is an order in there. There is the order of the universe, the natural laws within the universe. Everything is to do with this substratum of Brahman. So another way of looking at this is to think about the fuel for in a car. So you've got the fuel, and you can think that everything that happens, well, the car will be able to go is because of the fuel, right? So otherwise the car will not, or it could be hybrid these days or whatever, but you get the idea. So the fuel is what will make the car go. And that's what Brahman is that the fuel that's giving us. But then that fuel, that car will go nowhere without the driver. And that is us. Okay, so we are in the driver's seat. We've got control or not in this case. So you can, this is a bit scary, isn't it, that picture? But yeah, so no control there whatsoever, not to be tried. But so then our lives depend pretty much on that driver. Okay, so there is Brahman as the, or God as the substratum, as the very nature inside which we all are operating, that context, if you like. But then we are the driver is running the show, basically. And then you can choose what kind of driver you are, whether you are like this cat, or whether, you know, it's completely competent, completely incompetent, or whatever. But you get the picture. So basically, this is what we are trying to say. So is just to look at this in a bit more detail. Okay, so I'm going to summarize. So we're going. The law of causation is another way for us to learn or to try and understand who I really am. So basically, I am part of that manifestation of the manifestation of Brahman. So I am divine. Basically, this is why we've been trying to say, and I'm not this body, I'm not this, but and we're all subject to the scientific law of cause and effect, and that works at the individual level, at the level of the universe. And everything that's manifested in the world is names or forms of that primordial cause. And if you remove the cause from it all, then nothing remains. And so here, what we mean by that is when we take away our bodies and everything, what is left is just Atma or Brahman. So that's all that's left. So, and that's what we are, basically, essentially. That's a roundabout way in the conclusion of where we got to. So to understand this concept, we looked at the clay and pot and the wave and the ocean today. And now briefly about the implication of all what I've just said for our lives. Okay, so basically, I think we are the shaper of what happens to us. I mean, we've got nobody to blame. So yeah, we have full control. But when I say we have full control, I also know that we have no control over external events, right? So we're all in this situation. We're all here because of a little bacteria, right? Of a little virus. So that's why we're here. And so that's what brought us here. So we know that we have no control over external events, that we know. But we have full control over how we behave in this situation, and how we react to it, how we see it, how we experience it on a day-to-day life. So, and it is whether we are able to accept this is a manifestation of the divine, this is how it is. And also by understanding that what is eternal and what is temporary, or who we truly are, kind of put things a little bit in perspective. And also in our lives, inevitably, we're all attached to names and forms. So that's what, you know, it's about. Oh, I like this shirt. I like this. And it's all about the names and the forms of various things that we get very attached to. And obviously, and we know that all these things are not, you know, when we looked at the characteristic of Brahman, it was unchanging and all that thing, but everything else changes. Okay, so our body changes and we get very attached to this body. Okay, I'm not saying we shouldn't take care of it, but I'm saying we get very attached to it, and then we kind of, but then when it starts decaying or changing, we get very unsettled. And that's because of the importance we give to these names and the forms. So, and also it kind of helps us to, once we get a real understanding of all this, it helps us to accept a little bit better what it is that we can change and what it is that we can't change, right? So we can color our hair however much we want to, but the body is decaying, things are happening, and it's fine. It's just what naturally happens, is just the nature of things. Everything else will change. So it's just trying to accept certain things, and a real understanding makes it a lot easier for us to accept some things the way they are. And also we then are able to shift our world from our existence from world dependence to God dependence. And that can be very transformative in our perceptions. And that really, people who are able to get to that live a very, very joyful life and not completely unaffected by the world while living in the world all the time. And, you know, by being there and doing what they have to do. I'm not saying you need to leave everything and disappear in the mountain or whatever like that, but it is an attitude, it is a state of mind, and it can bring real peace of mind and real happiness. So basically the practice is to keep the mind absorbed in God. And how do we do that? We get it into the subconscious. We need to get these things into our subconscious if we believe in these things. And we need to start and our practices and, you know, and what we're doing in reciting 1,000 names of gods or names of gods is trying to get these into our subconscious about who we really are and about this, you know, becoming God dependence. And also what we are hoping to achieve is self-inquiry. So the Sanskrit name for it is vichara, is to kind of ask ourselves these fundamental questions that a lot of us, a lot of people, you know, don't even dare to ask or don't want to know, or, you know, so why I haven't got like 80 people here today, and you know, is because not everybody is kind of wanting to ask these questions or open to ask these questions, or yeah, so basically that's it. So so I want to end here, and we'll end this formal bit with a prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.